Cancer, your August 2025 forecast begins with Venus, the planet of relating but also of money, having moved late in July into your own sign. What she can do for you this month is give you an opportunity through to the 25th to feel gorgeous, to feel that much more alluring, particularly when she merges with Jupiter exactly on the 12th. The two planets of fortune aligning, and that starts to build up from the 9th through to the 15th. And Venus in our own sign is a wonderful chance to perhaps revisit our personal appearance, perhaps look through your clothes and see if there are some refinements that you can make. But Venus is challenged at the very start of this month by the stern energies of Saturn. Saturn for you, along with Neptune, is in the part of your situation to do with your connection to the wider world. And in some ways, Venus's arrival and clash with Saturn and Neptune could be a little bit of a challenge in terms of how you feel about yourself. Someone older around you, perhaps a parent, could make a cutting comment or be a bit cool towards you. Maybe professionally, if you're developing something that's very creative and artistic, it can feel that whatever you do will never be enough. And because Mercury ended July in a conjunction with the Sun in the Cazimi and continues its retrograde through to the 11th, in the part of your chart to do with everyday money, self-worth and values, if you don't feel very recognised as you come into this month, it could be quite triggering for you, particularly as the moon starts the month in your sister water sign of Scorpio, squaring off with the Sun in Leo, and that can give you the desire to be a bit freer with your resources. But because of Mercury's retrograde, unless you have to buy something, I feel it's going to be important to micromanage the in and outgoings of your expenditure, particularly through the full moon of the 9th in the sign of Aquarius, which for you is shared resources, long-term financial planning. It's the give and take of that side of your chart. The second house, where the Sun and Mercury are, is everyday costs. Now, Mercury going direct on the 11th will surely help. But what also happens on the 6th is Mars, the planet of passion and assertion, moves out of the part of your chart to do with quick fire exchanges. And through July, Mars had been very supportive to you in terms of expressing your ideas. And if we go back to when the Sun moved into your sign on the 21st of June, Mars was there as a conduit, really helping you forwards. So Mars moving on the 6th into your 4th house could be a potentially challenging part of the month, because then he goes directly opposite Saturn and Neptune in that same area of expectations, and perhaps people in positions of authority or situations where you're expected to flex into the more standard way that things are done. But Mars moving into the 4th house is in a way a kind of indicative energy of how it could be if it was in your sign. It could be a little bit moody, perhaps a little up and down, but a bit more outspoken, but in a defensive way. So as Mars and Saturn particularly go face to face, if you feel that someone's expectations or thrust in their idea of how life and standards should be on you, you may find yourself pushing back in quite a powerful way. And because the dialogue could be about finances with that Mercury retrograde and the full moon, that may be the area. Or maybe the area is because you're with Venus's help and actually heads towards Jupiter, wanting to focus much more on what gives you a soul charge, what really inspires you, what brings your passion to life. And if your passion feels in any way diminuted, that may be something you become much more conscious of. And a big crunch point occurs because as much as Venus and Jupiter could bring some luck your way, and if you are single and you'd like to meet someone, don't be surprised if more than one person shows an interest in you at the heart of this month. But by the 22nd, things start to speed up. The Sun moves into the sign of Virgo. which we know can be about service, it can be about details, it can be about virtue, it can be about organisation. But for you, the third house is very much how you think and how you articulate your ideas. It can be about beliefs, but there's an immediate clash with Uranus. And that clash with Uranus suggests that Uranus in your 12th house could see something that's been boiling away in the background for some while burst into the open. And if you do feel that someone has been over the top in their expectations, or rather stingy, unyielding, wanting it all on their terms, I feel this could unfortunately play out at work. You may find a much more rebellious part of your nature comes out, because you have a reputation, Cancer, of disliking confrontation. You'll go left, you'll go right, you'll bury under the sand to avoid an outright clash. But when you're really fired up, you need to remember that you are a cardinal sign, or one of the leader signs. So when Mars makes his way into the sign of Libra, does clash with Saturn and Neptune, he does by the 8th and the 10th actually forge a very strong link with Pluto, but also the newly arrived Uranus in the part of your chart to do with what's deeply buried within you. So there may be something very psychological that just boils up at the heart of this month, but you can surf it in a very constructive way by getting in touch with what your deeper personal purpose is. And if you do feel that that Saturn-Neptune alliance, which has been really quite difficult at times earlier in the month, you're going to shrug it off. You're going to have your opinion. You're going to be much more direct. You may find yourself even indulging in shock and awe by the time of the new moon of the 23rd, because that's also influenced by the electric energies of Uranus. Maybe something that you've been perhaps dealing with for some time, perhaps a psychological issue, maybe it's an old hurt, maybe it's something deep within you. It could be part of your shadow side that you're not totally conscious of, that something can boil up to the surface as this month draws to a close. But if you are focused much more on finances, although the Mercury retrograde and also the full moon can cause some complications this month, you could also have a fantastic stroke of fortune as August comes to a close, when on the 25th Venus moves into Leo. But there could also be someone you encounter as Venus goes face to face with Pluto as August ends, that you find so compelling, so alluring, someone with such a magnetic energy, you might find it almost impossible not to be drawn towards them. But do be conscious of the power dynamic between you. With year 2025 absolutely racing by, you can order your year 2026 natal forecast now, and I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also 30% off and your life roadmap report, the most important document any of us can ever read, helping to give us searing insights into the life patterns that have played out so far, but a much more intimate understanding of how to work with those energies future forwards. Please see the link below for more.